Someone asks where you want to eat. You say, I don't care. Whatever is easiest. This sounds flexible. Mature, even. A person with no demands. A human carry-on bag. But then everyone chooses the one place you secretly hoped they would not choose, and now you are chewing a disappointing sandwich while insisting it is totally fine. That is the strange part about being low maintenance. It can make life easier for everyone around you while quietly turning your own life into a customer service complaint you never submit. Being easygoing is not the problem. Sometimes you truly do not care. Sometimes the restaurant, movie, hotel room, or thermostat setting genuinely makes no difference. The exhausting part begins when low maintenance stops describing your preferences and starts describing your entire job in the relationship. You do not need much. You do not ask for much. You can handle it. And if you cannot handle it, you will handle that privately too. For a lot of Gen X adults, this can feel less like a personality trait and more like an old operating system. It was installed early, probably from a floppy disk, and nobody remembers the password. Many grew up during a period when independence was praised and supervision was often lighter than it is today. Parents were working. Kids carried house keys, made snacks, settled arguments, remembered homework, and tried not to create an additional emergency before dinner. That does not mean every Gen X childhood was the same. It does not mean independence was always harmful. Plenty of people gained real confidence, judgment, and problem-solving skills from being trusted. But a useful childhood skill can become a rigid adult rule. Handle it yourself. Do not make a fuss. Do not add to anybody's workload. And definitely do not become the person who requires a separate conversation. Children are very good at noticing what gets rewarded. Sometimes the low-maintenance child receives praise directly. More often, the reward is simply that everything stays calm. No annoyed sigh. No worried face. No lecture about money. No reminder that adults already have enough going on. So the child learns a quiet equation. Having fewer visible needs makes life smoother. Smoother feels safer. Therefore, need nothing. This equation works beautifully until adulthood starts sending bills. The car breaks down. A parent gets sick. Work becomes ridiculous. Your back decides that putting on a sock now requires a strategic plan. You still say, I'm good. You are not good. You are standing in a kitchen at 11 at night eating shredded cheese directly from the bag because making a plate feels like one request too many. Psychologist Dana Jack studied a pattern she called self-silencing, later measured with Diana Dill in research published in 1992. Their original work focused on women in intimate relationships, so it should not be stretched into a diagnosis for every quiet person or every Gen X adult. But the basic pattern is recognizable. A person hides thoughts, feelings, or needs because speaking up might create conflict, disappointment, rejection, or extra work for someone else. In plain English, you keep the peace by removing yourself from the list of things that matter. That can look noble from the outside. It can also create a small administrative nightmare on the inside. You are constantly scanning. Is this important enough to mention? Are they already stressed? Can I fix it myself? Will asking make me seem difficult? By the time you decide whether to request a glass of water, you have completed a full risk assessment normally reserved for bridge construction. All that monitoring takes energy. Then there is emotional suppression, which means hiding what you are feeling after the feeling has already arrived. In a 2003 series of studies, psychologists James Gross and Oliver John found that people who relied more heavily on suppression tended to report less positive emotion and poorer interpersonal functioning. That does not mean everyone should announce every feeling immediately. Nobody needs a live emotional podcast from the passenger seat. Keeping your cool can be useful. The problem is having only one setting. When every disappointment gets compressed into no worries, other people lose information. They may honestly believe there are no worries. They keep choosing, asking, leaning, and assuming because the official report from your department says operations are normal. Meanwhile, your internal staff has quit. This is where low maintenance becomes strangely unfair to everyone. You are doing extra work to protect other people from your needs. They do not know you are doing it. Then part of you starts hoping they will notice anyway. You say, anything is fine, but want them to remember what you like. You say, I've got it, but hope they will insist on helping. You say, don't worry about me, then feel hurt when they follow instructions with impressive efficiency. That is not manipulation. Usually, it is a conflict between two strong wishes. You want care. You also want care that costs you nothing to request, because requested care can feel less real, or less generous, or dangerously close to being needy. So you wait for someone to read the room, read your face, read your history, and somehow read the invisible memo you never sent. Some people will notice, many will not. This is not because they are heartless. It is because mind reading remains an unreliable communication platform. Research on asking for help suggests we may also be more pessimistic than reality justifies. In studies published in 2008, Frank Flynn and Vanessa Bonds found that people underestimated how often others would agree to direct requests for help, sometimes by as much as half. That does not mean everyone will say yes. It means the prediction in your head may be harsher than the actual person in front of you. The old rule says asking creates a burden, but asking also creates a choice. People can help. They can negotiate. They can say no. They can offer something smaller. Most adults survive this process without collapsing onto a fainting couch. And support matters. In a major 1985 review, psychologists Sheldon Cohen and Thomas Wills found evidence that social support can soften some of the effects of stress, especially when the support fits the problem. The important word is available. Support cannot do much if nobody knows it is needed. This is why the answer is not to become high maintenance on purpose. You do not need to begin issuing beverage specifications like a touring celebrity. The goal is smaller. Become visible enough to participate in your own life. Start with a preference that does not feel dangerous. I'd rather have pizza. Tuesday works better. Could you carry that? I'm tired, so I'm going home. These are not dramatic declarations. They are basic location services for the people who care about you. A clean request can help too. Say what would be useful without building a legal defense around it. Can you call the repair shop? Not. I know you are busy and it is completely fine if you cannot. And honestly, I was probably going to do it anyway, and please do not be mad that I briefly existed. Then let the other person answer. A yes does not mean you tricked them. A no does not mean your need was shameful. It means two adults exchanged information, which is how relationships avoid becoming escape rooms. You may also have to tolerate the awkwardness of being helped. That can be surprisingly hard. Someone brings dinner, solves a problem, or takes over a task, and your first impulse is to repay them before they finish putting down the casserole. Try not to turn every kindness into an immediate invoice. Receiving is part of connection too. Low maintenance probably helped you become capable, observant, adaptable, good in a crisis. The person who brings jumper cables, snacks, directions, and a backup plan nobody asked for but everybody eventually needs. You do not have to lose that. You just do not have to prove it every minute. The next time someone asks where you want to eat, you can still say, I don't care, when that is true. But when it is not true, pick the place. Being easy to love was never supposed to require disappearing from the order.